Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for another mega transfers roundup. We've had a lot of news. It's been a while since we've done one. I think from well before the World Championships, about a month ago, and the bits and pieces are falling into place. I don't think we haven't had like a bomber yet, have we, Benji? Just the Pidcock drama, but no bomber.
Exactly, not necessarily a bomber, but I do think that yesterday's piece about INEOS's changes internally, not necessarily rider related, but management related, is not necessarily a bomb, but it's a notable change, I would say. Whether it's for the positive or not, I guess we can jump right into it. But after that, we'll discuss the actual riders going to UAE Team Emirates, Visma Lease Bike, also a few women's cycling transfers. So we've got quite a few riders to talk through today. So strap in, get some popcorn, and let's go. INEOS management changes, my friend. Let's get started.
We had the big press release yesterday about restructuring, and these are the highlights. So, Kurt Arvidsson, as how do you say Kurt Arvidsson?
Yeah,
as sports as head sports director, which seems kind of as lead sports director, which kind of seems in conflict with Steve Cummings, who is director of racing. From what I can see, like the way no one says anything, including the interview with Kurt Arvidsson with Benson this morning, it looks to me like Cummings is on gardening leave or something, because no one's saying anything. He's not at any races. People are like Kurt are being hired basically in his function, and yet he hasn't left the team. So that leads me to that.
Also,
thinking that.
Is it me, or I feel like Arvidsson, of course, if you don't know who Kurt Asle Arvidsson is, Norwegian champion back in the day, I think the 2007-ish era, if I recall correctly. Also won a stage at the Tour de France and the Giro, if my memory serves me right. But most importantly, me as a Flemish person, I remember him from winning, either was it Dwars door Vlaanderen or E3? I think Breschel might have been Dwars door Vlaanderen, so it's probably E3 for this man. And that's my memory from him. I think he's worked for UNOX in the last couple of years and left there maybe this year, and now coming to INEOS as this lead sports director. I reckon he's probably pretty competent for that role, but it's very hard to judge that, because as we're going through these names, for example, Kurt Asle Arvidsson becoming lead sports director, Leonardo Basso going from a freelance sports director role to a permanent one. Those are two changes in the sports directors. There's also change in the performance staff. For example, Tom Helleman comes in as lead performance coach. He was part of DSM in the past. Dr. Mehdi Kordi as head of performance support and innovation. I think this guy worked with the Dutch national track team based on because I think on his Twitter it said
successful.
Like PhD in max power in sprint. I'm sorry, but I did not know that PhDs were so like small scoped.
Oh, Benji, you can do a PhD on anything.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. PhD in Pro Cycling Manager. I'm coming for you.
You could do one.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The interaction between Pro Cycling Manager, hours played, and knowledge of World Tour and Continental development. There you go. It's called the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast. We've done 5 seasons of it. We're ready to get the PhD. Yeah, I call myself Doctor. Yeah, I call you Dr. Naesen now.
Dr. Naesen is terrifying and a bit of an disrespectful to all people that are actual doctors. But the last one is also Luca Ojano coming in as Director of Research and Development. But when I go over these names, like, I don't know all of these people, but I'm guessing they're pretty competent in their field. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be getting this job in the first place. But the question is, does it solve the problem that INEOS was having in the first place? Which, if I look at this year, I'm sorry, but the INEOS transfers, I'm not sold on them.
Yeah, there's no like big breaking ones, but also I think I like Langolotti. I like Sam Watson's got a lot of potential, but it's just the lack of budget. Jungels is not a good one, but
those names won't fix the problem for INEOS. But what will fix the problem is, I would argue, talent development, because they're missing out on so many juniors that are like, why does UAE come around with all the juniors like I used in the past few years now? Pablo Torres, who, let's be honest, that name, I wasn't really expecting him to pop up like that in Africa.
He wasn't a good junior.
But there's definitely other names out there where you're thinking, okay, why did INEOS not get those guys? Like Albert Philipsen, why is he going to Little Trek instead of going to INEOS? And then
because they paid him so much money. Did you not see the Sports of Spy on article? That's about him, right? That has to be.
Didn't see the article.
There's there's a Spy in the peloton. There was always on Cycling Tips, now Scape, and then there's also the Belgian version on Sportza, or Flemish version on Sportza. Yeah. And it was apparently about a disgruntled senior domestique in a World Tour team who, when they found out how much the team had paid a junior to sign with the team, they got paid in their junior year. Yeah. That then the top rider in that team gave part of their salary to the disgruntled domestique to make them not feel bad. Yeah, and it has to be Philipsen.
Wait, Albert Philipsen at Trek. So who is the top name then? Because top name at Little Trek, I'm thinking, okay, Pedersen. It's Mads Pedersen, but who is he giving that to then? Otto Vergaarde?
Can't be Bauke Mollema. I don't know, but that's unless I'm missing some other junior that would have signed a big deal, it had to be Albert Philipsen. So
I'm going to dive into this because I swear in the past, Otto Vergaarde was the Sports of Spy like a few years ago, but it changes every few articles. So
it's a combination of a few Flemish guys, right?
Probably.
Like, I swear it was like Benoit or Vergaarde. I thought it was Benoit for a bit, but then it's like a compilation of 4 or 5 of the Flemish guys, I think.
Now, I do want to continue on INEOS for a second.
Oh, yeah. Why didn't they get the top juniors?
Yes, but
they did in August.
First of all, I'm sorry, but...
Benji, he was with Nordhagen. Let's not misremember. He was a top junior.
Yeah, but what is his pathway the last year?
Paris-Roubaix.
We got the top junior, let's send him to Paris-Roubaix. I'm sorry, but is this because they don't have a development team?
Yeah, and one of those, I would say so. And one of those 3 pillars, which was Grand Tour racing, one-day racing, /sprints, and future talent. We'll see what future talent comes up with. But Tom Hellerman, I think I've met him before. I was pretty impressed, actually. Aussie boy, young guy. I think he did pretty. Yeah. I think he was doing the GC guys at DSM. Maybe he was coaching Onley and Poole. Perhaps it's a long-term play for Onley and Poole.
Maybe.
But yeah, Hellerman, it's good that they're bringing in a fresh guy. And to be honest, Bardet, Poole, Onley, I've been pretty, especially Bardet, like he's been performing really well. But yeah, they're all the big changes. The problem for poor old Dr. Cordy is they don't have a sprinter. So unless you're going to work with Thymen Arensman, yeah. Oh, no, that's not true. Axel Laurence, I guess. But that's the INEOS changes. They still got space for a 30th rider.
But these changes are happening. Sorry, but will this solve the problem? Because I feel like this feels to me like rearranging the deck chairs on a sinking Titanic.
Rearranging the... What's the movie where it's like, what is the problem? Moneyball. What is the problem? Yeah. Brad Pitt says, what is the problem? And everyone's like, no one knows what the problem
the money is the problem here, but...
I don't think so.
But also, why are they so against having a development team? Because...
Yeah, but is the development team the solution?
Well, I'd argue that having a development team is definitely a step forward, because having a development team means you have a set number of riders that are already dedicated to your development pipeline, in which you can find the best talents to then move to your INEOS World Tour team. And if you don't have that development team, then you kind of have to depend on riders that are not part of your development pipeline to like being in a random spot between all these other development teams that are occurring from other teams, and be okay with not being in one of those development teams that have probably a bigger budget than teams like Axion, Hagens, Berman whatsoever. And then you have to depend on them not signing for those other development teams until you make the step to get them to your World Tour team.
Yeah, it's tricky. You got to take in a big risk when you give a World Tour spot to an 18-year-old, even if they are well hyped.
And as a consequence, you only have a limited amount of World Tour spots you can give to potential talents, which means you have to get the right one. instead of having a larger pool of ones where the right one might be in. Because like I remember being in a press conference when John Allard was assigned as CEO at the start of the year, and I asked the question, why does INEOS not have a development team yet? Is that something that the team would the team needs? And the response was kind of, well, if we needed a development team, we would have done it already. Which that sounded like a very shit answer to me.
Yeah, I guess the counterpoint is that, look at the development teams that Bora, Trek, Visma all have.
Mm-hmm.
That those development teams are not producing riders, superstars, more than one per year, one every 2 years. So you're investing in all the dev team structure. Why not just take the actual one superstar and put them in the World Tour team? Now, that's devil's advocate. The actual answer is you don't know when you sign Matthew Brennan a year and a half ago. You don't know. You might just think he's one of the others, and then in that dev structure, you're like, holy shit. And he's given the time in the dev team, and then bang, up to World Tour next year. So,
and additionally,
no way you would sign Brennan straight to a World Tour team like 2 years ago.
Exactly. And additionally, if you look at Little Trek, for example, yes, they had talents that were obvious in their development team, but there were also a few names where I didn't expect the step forward they made in their development team. And as a consequence, they have more talent than initially expected to have with that development team, to the point that they don't have spots for them in their damn team.
Yeah. They had like 5 World Tour ready riders.
Yeah.
In one crop. Way more. They probably thought Teutenberg was the only guy that was going to really come. So sort of blessing and a curse, I would say. But yeah, they're the changes at INEOS. They still have one spot left. I'll be keen to see who they get. Maybe a sprinter, because Dr. Cordy got to do something unless they re-sign Viviani. UAE Team Emirates. Maybe we should have led with this, because this is the real. It's connected to that conversation. Pablito Torres signs a 6-year till 2030. The first year U23 rider. He did quite clearly the best ever U23 climbing performance in history on the Fenestra in the Tour de l'Avenir. He just missed out on GC by 12 seconds to Blackmore after the raid of the Dutchies with Hart and Blackmore on stage 5. But really, we all saw who the best climber was, winning 2 uphill finishes with big gaps. And so UAE didn't mess around. 6-year deal. Thanks for coming. I think we might have mentioned. I think we discussed this when I was in the Netherlands, maybe when we did a pod, Benji. But
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, but it makes sense. And Rune Gerholz replaces Short Bucks. I just see that's a like for like, and Gerholz has more margin and a better TT. He's better.
I probably see it similar as well, but also Gerholz had a shit year in 2024. I think he would also agree in that. I think time trial is the focus he's focused on in the last couple of years, and those breakaway victories that he had in, what was it, Valenciana back in the day?
Andalusia or something.
Yeah, something like that with Sport Vlaanderen. Like, those were his focus back in the day. Then he had a shit year this year. I do see an upside for him. I was kind of looking at teams like Lotto and so forth to maybe get Rune Gerholz on board, a rider that has underperformed in 2024 to maybe overperform the next year. That's possible. I didn't expect UAE Team Emirates to be that team. Now, he will have a bloody good flat time trial setup, that's for sure. They're ahead of the curve at UAE Team Emirates in that regard. So I think he'll like that. But when it comes to his role, I reckon it's probably going to be that the short box role, rouleur in stage races, whatever, plus doing the classics wherever they need to fill in the spots, because I haven't seen Gerholz that much in like the classics, Belgian one races, sure. But above that, guess we'll find out. But that's UAE Team Emirates when it comes to the names of this segment. You said it, Pablo Torres.
Do you think UAE's? I mean, they kind of don't need to do anything, right? Like, they don't need to make a bomber.
Correct.
Like, they just got to make sure they put the roster around Poggy and the other guys that can facilitate them dominating, and that's what they did really well this year.
Exactly, and also the riders they do have in the team, it's not like they're at 36 and they're falling off the wagon. Yes,
no.
Michael's coming to the end of his career, but that's a rider
Sivakov's there.
Won. Yeah, you've half replaced him already, and if you do want to replace him in the future, you can do that when it actually happens. And I would argue that the market this year might not have been the perfect one to do that in the first place. And then I look at the rest of the squad and I think, okay, I think they're pretty fine. If you keep winning so many times, like 80 plus victories throughout the year, with in mind that your team is not the oldest in the peloton and has plenty of young riders in it. Del Toro, he's just had his first year. He will keep growing. Ayuso's still young, etc. Wellens is not 37 either. So in that regard, he can stay on for a while longer as well. So I reckon UAE is just fine. Just got to make sure they stay ahead of the curve and don't become nonchalant about it. But I doubt they will do that. So I reckon they're Gucci for now. Visma Lease
well, that's why they didn't sign. Sorry, but that's why they didn't sign Vlasov. They didn't sign Hindley. They didn't go big.
Yeah.
They're like, they don't need to crowd Almeida and Ayuso.
Yep, I think so as well. And like, especially because right now it's already the most heated argument at UAE or surrounding UAE. We don't know if it's internally as well. Is that whole Juan Ayuso situation, and whether that's an actual problem internally, I don't actually know. But I could understand that there's a bit of like tension when it comes to leaderships in races with so many big guns there, so many cooks in the kitchen. But I reckon with the team they have, they can probably take care of that in some shape or form in the future. Visma Leasebike. First of all, let's start with the name that a lot of people might not have expected. Well, I think both names were kind of unexpected, to be honest. But Daniel Maclay, we've spoken about him like so many times as a potential lead out for a top sprinter over the last couple of years. Well, it was the last 4 years maybe where we were looking at his lead outs at Arkea, for example, for Buhani, if I recall correctly, but also his movement through the peloton, and I'll describe it properly, like an eel through the peloton. We always felt that he could have potential as a lead out, and we've seen some lead outs from him in the past, but not necessarily for a top sprinter, right? How do you see that?
Yeah, I took a look at his Tour de France lead-outs, and not just that, I thought Maclay was very, very good. But yeah, he led up Buhani initially for RK. I remember Saudi Tour sprint, maybe COVID times, 2020 or 2021. Yeah. I was like, no, like, that's a good lead-out. And it's hard to find a lead-out, Benji. Like, Jordi Meus, he could be a great lead-out. Jordi Meus won on the Champs-Élysées 18 months ago. He's 25, 26 years old. He's not going to be a lead-out. It's really
also not a top sprinter. I'm sorry.
No, but that's the thing. He's not reached 30 years old where he's like, I need to transition to being a lead out.
Is he Gert Steegmans of back in the day? Do you know who that is?
No idea. German.
Really? Oh, fuck off.
I don't know.
What the fuck? Gert Steegman, legendary, I'd say tier 2-3 sprinter at Quickstep back in the day, together with Tom Bonen, and would be his lead out in certain races, to the point that he beat Tom Bonen as lead out at a certain race. And then eventually, it might have been at the Tour de France actually. And I think he also won on the Champs-Élysées.
He looks a bit too good for me.
In the comparison.
He won 2 Tour stages, 2 Paris stages. He looks like a little bit too good. One as lead out
and one on the Champs-Élysées. Oh. So if Mays becomes a lead out, he might be able to fill it up.
Yeah, but anyway, for Maclay, it'll be interesting to see him paired with a top sprinter. I'll have Coy. There's 4 top sprinters: Milan, Merlier, Coy, Philipsen. Coy's one of them. When you look at the World Tour wins this year, and he's had a lead out by committee this year. Laporte, Van Aert was the plan in the Giro. Then Van Aert got injured, obviously. The Van Dijk brothers, I was very impressed with Tim Van Dijk and Paris-Nice, but it was lead out by committee, and it'll be nice. It'll be nice to see. Building the chemistry with Dan Maclay, particularly in like those UAE Tour style sprints where you really like you look at the value Bert van Leeuwenberger provides to Merlier in those big boy sprints. You need a specialist, I think, for those sort of sprints, and I think Maclay can do that.
But I'm not sure how much you can talk about it, but when it comes to this Mike Teunissen rumor, I felt like it was signed, is how I perceived the rumors. I perceived the rumors that Mike Teunissen was joining Visma Leasebike, and honestly, I was expecting him to join, and then we see the surprise that he's going to Astana, and eventually we see Maclay as the rider that ends up as the lead out here. So that was a bit of a surprise. But the other surprise when it comes to Visma Leasebike was that we had a whole debacle about Nicolas Behrens, because at first he was then rumored to, well, probably stay at Little Trek. Then eventually we realized pretty early that, okay, there's no spots left at Little Trek, so how the hell is he going to sign for the actual World Tour team if he can't move up because there's no spots left? Because, well, they've got too much talent in their F team and signed a lot of riders the year before. And then we hear the rumors that he might be going to Visma Leasebike as a consequence of Willerflits reporting that, if I recall correctly. Then Daniel Benson says, okay, I heard that he still has a contract or some kind of deal with Little Trek. And eventually, the outcome is Nicolas Behrens does go to Visma Leasebike. And that's a hell of a poach, you know, especially because of the time with him becoming U23 world champion. Would this topic have been so overly discussed publicly if he didn't win that?
No, probably if he just came second at Euros behind Hubarts. Like, who's talking about Hubarts? No offense to him. We will in a second. Yeah. He's a nice rider. But yeah, obviously the world champs brought it all to a head. And yeah, very, very exciting rider. He started, as a bit of background on him, he was a triathlete. He was racing for Stevens Racing Team, which was like a club team in Germany. Just did some German natty races. And then was doing pretty well on them. Went to Flanders Tomorrow Tour, won the first stage, riding away from the peloton, which also included Soderfist and Del Grosso, who Del Grosso top 10 worlds this year. And then Little Trek, he was on Stork Metropole as a trainee, Conti team.
Yeah.
Then Little Trek Devo picked him up. He was 19 or 18. So still pretty young, still a U23 rider. But yeah, he literally just done like 10 road races before he won. And then he won Youngster Coast Challenge, which is like Baby Genwevelhem, I think. It is. And he won that in a solo. And kicked on from there. So even in the big strange thing was like the Baby Giro, there was a hill circuit, and there was a breakaway with all about 60 to 70 kilo riders, and then he's in there with Brennan and Darren Van Beckham and Artem Schmidt, who's with INEOS, Tuckwell, who's with Bora Devo, Bizio, who's with Decathlon World Tour. So it's a very, very high level breakaway, and he nearly beat Brennan in the sprint, surviving the hills. So yeah, super impressive. Rider, I would say he reminds me of Cancellara.
Ooh.
Not the best. Like, Teutenberg's got a better flat sprint. He doesn't have the flat sprint of a Van Aert or the explosivity, I would say, of a Van der Poel. He's bigger, but he reminds me of Cancellara.
But without the time trial, or do you see that as a possibility?
Yeah, but then look at World TT, compare his equipment to Soderfist.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of margin in the TT.
I'm very curious to see. I feel like comparing to like the top riders of the past is also like, okay, we're setting a high bar here, but that's what the hope is that he turns into, I'm guessing then. I won't remind us. I won't remind everybody about the comparison you made at the start of the year from Ben Tolle to Jonas Vingegaard, but let's skip towards Decathlon.
No way I said that.
Yeah, you said he's kind of like Jonas Vingegaard.
I would have said Roglic.
Yeah, you definitely said Vingegaard.
Dude.
Anyway, Decathlon AG2R is the next team on the list. Johannes Tonemite, talking about Visma Leasebike, is leaving Visma Leasebike, and he's going to Decathlon Age d'Isère. Was this before his contract ended, or like was he out of contract?
Yeah. No, it was he had a contract for a few years.
Okay, and if you look at this situation, then I'm guessing it was a tripartite agreement because he was on contract, and looking at all three parties then, Stonemite in the last year at Visma Leasebike, I didn't really get the feeling that he was really reaching the potential I was hoping to see him reach. So that didn't really work out perfectly in the last year. Visma Leasebike probably looks at that and is like, yeah, we're a bit concerned. Then Stonemite is probably like, damn it, I want another opportunity in World Tour though. Then the Decathlon Age d'Isère is like, ooh, this guy might have potential in the coming years that didn't come out in 2024. So I think a perfect transfer for all three parties. And it's not like the Decathlon's on shit equipment anymore. So I reckon I'm looking forward to seeing what Stonemite can do. But what do you think about the other three names that are on the list?
Well, yeah, decathlon scene, they like the Scandinavians. They had Harninen, which kind of didn't work out. They had Bosenhagen, Norwegian, retiring this year. And
who's
the
that guy? The 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that came from maybe Yam Cycling to Decathlon AG2R. Oh my god, I'm gonna look this up. I'm very curious who this was. Was like a bit of a versatile sprinter. Luke, help me. Who was this Norwegian guy on this team back in the day? Am I drunk? Sander Holst Enger. Did you say that already, or?
Sander Holst.
Sander Holst Enger.
Yeah, it's not a real
this
person.
Was before your time.
Yeah, it's not a
real person.
No. But yeah, even on the Devo team, they have who they're bringing up for 2025. They're bringing up what's his name? Rasmus Solberg Pedersen, who's been one of the best classic sprinters in and they bought Tord Gudmestad from INEOS or signed him from INEOS, who's not a Devo rider. He was on the pro team. He did really impressive lead outs in the Crow race for Christoph, actually, basically hand delivered him. So they're really going for the Norwegians. I don't know why, whether there's a staff member or not. But yeah.
Additionally to that, there's also a few riders signed to their dev team, and one of them is actually Kasper Haugland, which I think is the son of Jens Haugland, who was the CEO of INEOS, the team in the previous year. So the fact that he's signing for Decathlon AG2R sounds to me like there was a bit of a falling out in that situation, because otherwise you'd expect this guy to show up at INEOS, right?
Yeah, probably. So that's like with Vincent Lavenu, has a daughter, and she's on, which I didn't know. She's a junior, and she is going to AG Insurance next year, and she was on the club team of Team Feminine Chambéry, which I think was the decathlon feeder.
What are you inferring here? That there's a bad situation between Vasseur and his daughter?
No, Vincent Lavenu.
Oh, Lavenu. Okay, so Lavenu. Okay,
because he got kicked out by decathlon.
Okay. And that's the list for Decathlon. I was just there. And
Bissiger, not a good signing. Don't know what he's going to do, but maybe he can. Yeah, he's not a classics rider. He's not a sprinter. He's not an elite time trialist.
And is he cheap?
No, because he's Stefan Bissiger.
So
he's still got that aura. He's got 4 World Tour wins to his name.
Like the time trialists that are not top time trialists, but don't really perform in other areas. Like if Bissiger was a competent breakaway rider, I would look differently at it. I would look at it as like, okay, this guy can win a breakaway stage, but he's only done that once, if I recall correctly, at the Tour de Suisse, and there's no proof that he's consistently able to perform like that. So I agree, I'm not bullish at all on Bissiger's transfer. I'm pretty damn bearish on it. I think it's a waste of money and World Tour space in the Decathlon AG2R, and I don't see it. Jacob Alula, though, I do like their signing. Jelte Krijnsen, we spoke about him a few times this year. And is it me, or did this guy kind of show up out of relative nowhere from my perspective? Because didn't he win a stage at the Tour of Denmark? And
yes,
he did that.
Yeah. So he was on Park Hotel. He was getting really good results on the Dutch .2 circuit. And not European .2 circuit, and then at the Netherlands road race, he was 6th against the World Tour boys, including Groenewegen and Kooi. And then he got a traineeship with Q36, won a stage at Denmark from the breakaway, just straight up destroyed Stensby, who was in the break with him, and then won Drovenkoers, which was even more impressive because that's a one-day race with multiple World Tour teams, motivated World Tour teams. Won that in I don't know how, and then he didn't get extended by Q36, which is kind of surprising. Isn't that the point of a trainee? When they do well, you then
is it a choice? Did Q36.5 have a choice, or were there other better offers from World Tour teams?
But aren't they? This is the point. Like Jaco aren't paying him €1 million a year. I don't think.
But is the team more attractive? I think yes.
I mean, Q36 have a full classics program. They did all the big classics.
Yeah, but
they offered him the traineeship. They took a chance on him.
True.
Like, why, if they match it, why wouldn't he say yes?
I don't know. Gotta ask him. Yelta, come on the podcast, my friend.
But that's what I mean about Q36, and it's like, and the Pidcock thing, they're not doing the basics right. The basics is if you have a trainee and they win a race, you should sign. You should be. That's the point of having a trainee, is that you sign them, or don't give them a traineeship without 2-year deal, which is what most teams do. Because then basically they put on your jersey, they go to your race, they perform, they market themselves, and then it's open season on them.
Yeah, but while they perform, they also potentially market you, right? Because we've seen a few trainees, Tronchon and now Jelte Krijnsen, that actually perform for that team, you know? So for me, it goes two ways. Because I do see traineeship as an opportunity to have a chance at World Tour Racing, to see whether it works from both sides. But I also don't see it as you're now committed to the team. So in my opinion, it's probably Jelte that chose Jayco over Q36.5.
Yeah. And Jayco done a good bit of business there because Matthews has been holding that ship down for the classics. Like on he's been carrying that on his back in the one-day races. Outside of the hilly ones where Depreto looks quite good and Zana can be quite good in the Italian minor calendar. So they needed someone like Krijnsen badly. He can do a lead out. He can win a sprint of a small group. I think he housed Laporte the other day in a sprint.
Is he 2025's 2023 Lascano?
Ooh, you mean like profile or what?
In like showing up at Dwars of London and being in the final unexpectedly.
Yeah, like if he, I would not let this guy in the breakaway in Dwars of London. I would not, or Gent Wevel him, because then if you get in a group with 5, he can solo, he can sprint. So I think that's a really good addition. Also, Jayco got a little Dutch contingent too, Groenewegen, Randers, so they can all do their Dutch thing. So
they can eat stroopwafels together.
Yeah, they can have the hagelslag for more people to bring it in the bus or for the breakfast table. But seriously, it's a good signing for them. Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, I think we mentioned Lascano's gone there already with Pithy, the big profile. Gianni Moscon's the new news. I think it's a good signing, basically because if Gianni Moscon avoids one situation, if he prevents one time Roglic crashing, he's earned his whole contract. And that's his job. And he's good at that. In the Tour, he was very good for a guy on the minimum wage. But what we really want to talk about is the announcement, Benji, of the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe Rookies program, which is the U23 team.
Pause.
So, yeah.
We need to do like a tier list at some point for all the names of these dev teams, because we've got UAE,
Future
Gen
Racing.
Z, Little Track Future Racing, Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe Rookies. We've got Visma Leasebike Development Team. It's fucking boring, I'm sorry. In the past, I was like, Gen Z sound
Baby Bees!
Cringe. But now, I'm so down. I am so
Baby
down.
Bees is pretty good.
I think that's a great name. Yeah,
Well,
you can make it work. Come on.
No, just call it development team. They're just the
That's
development
fucking
team.
boring. F tier. Sorry. Rookies doesn't really sound too. Yeah, you gotta show some like dominance over like the other teams, and Gen Z sounds relatively cool for the youngsters these days, I reckon. So I'd put that slightly above Rookies. Future Racing I like a lot. I generally do.
But they're racing now.
Fuck off.
So but UAE are going to have to change the name of Gen Z in probably 5 or 6 years, because Gen Z ends in 2012.
Oh no, you're right. Oh no.
So what
is the next?
What is the next? Gen Alpha.
And what comes after that?
I don't think there is one yet.
They're gonna run out of names.
Well, no, there's loads of Greek letters. Probably the betas. UAE betas. In 2055. Born from the kids born in 2030. Me and you will be Mario and Vasseur by then, Benji. Just complaining about the good old days.
Where is the romance of the sport?
Yeah, well, these people...
Why do I sound like an Italian trying to be Mario?
Anyway, they've announced a very impressive roster, Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, actually, for the, like, what a way to start with their Devo team. Theodore Clemenson, who was from they had a junior team, a feeder team called Team Grenke Auto Ada. I would say it has not functioned well. That having a junior team and then they would send them off to Tyrol or Lotto Kernhaus, and it just has not worked. Or they would bring them up like Joey Louis Lurs, did not work. So
the outcome didn't work. But
yeah, or Herzog, if they'd had a Devo team, would have done a year at the Devo team, another year or two. So they got Clemenson, Fitzke very highly rated. Romert Peugeot from Kernhaus, Adrien Boichy, mountain biker, huge French talent. Davide Donati, don't know him so well. Leonard Yash, a German who's actually not a U23 rider, but he was a speed skater and he just started racing already with good results, good power data. Marco Martin, Spanish from Café Baque, which is, I think he's a climber. Sebastian Putz, I don't know, from Tyrol. Thornley and Tuckwell from Trinity, because apparently Trinity is stopping next year. Also, Lorenzo Finn is the big star, so he's their big centerpiece. Lorenzo Finn, the junior world champion, huge talent, the Italian Yorkshireman, and they're going to win some races next year, that's for sure.
I agree. I definitely agree. And there's a ton of riders in here. That's the thing I like about these development teams, where, yes, they've got a junior team, but they've also got the U23 team. And between that, you can also sign riders from other areas, which they're doing here as well to fill up that U23 team, which also doesn't restrict them to only getting the juniors from their junior team. So it's a pipeline where there's multiple entrances as they climb the ladder towards the World Tour team. And I think it fills up a hole that they had in their development pipeline perfectly. And I'm looking forward to see what happens here, especially Adrien Boichy, that combination of, if I recall, mountain bike compared to with road biking, what are the next steps there, etc. So I think that's also perhaps why he chose for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, is my guess, that he can also have the combination of discipline still at this team as well. But that team aside, which I'm very much fond of that they have that development team, we go towards Team Movistar. Movistar, again, somewhat related to INEOS, they are signing Pablo Castrillo, which is the guy that was rumored to go to Movistar, to INEOS before the Vuelta even started. And, well, like, I feel
this is classic Movistar.
Yes?
They never get the guy, except for Romeo, but they never get him when he performed in U23s. They wait. Enric Mas, they get them after they've performed in World Tour, e.g. they cost way more.
Yeah. So I don't know how fixed the transfer of Castrillo to INEOS was, how far along it was before Movistar dipped their toes in and it twisted. I do believe there was some truth to Castrillo going to INEOS based on the rumors I've heard. So I would expect that Movistar basically, I won't say poached, but that's kind of how I see it, halfway through the INEOS rumors, and therefore they are paying Movistar the big bucks, the big Vuelta bucks with those two stage wins. And I gotta say, yes, he won 2 Vuelta stages. Yes, he can time trial somewhat next to his climbing ability, but will he be able to function and deliver the level of 2 Vuelta stage wins in the next couple of years, every year? I think that's a risky bet.
Yeah, like what is he? He's not a GC rider? He's not a sprinter?
I think he's a mountain-trained domestique plus a breakaway rider.
Yeah. You're probably going to be paying a lot of money for that.
Like, if we had to guess, it's $1 million, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Almost. It's 800K.
700, 750? Maybe
I think 800K roughly.
Maybe less. I think maybe. I mean, how much? He won 2 Vuelta stages, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather have Barade.
But he's staying at the team.
Anyway, they signed Luis Aula as well, who had a huge season on Caja Rural. He gets a 2-year deal. The 27-year-old Venezuelan, 872 UCI points, and basically on the minor European calendar. And we're not talking dot twos. We're talking dot pros, dot ones. He's like in the top 10 or top 5 more often than not. He's also joined by his compatriot Jefferson Cepeda. This is the taller one. and he's not his compatriot. He's Ecuadorian, not Venezuelan. Apologies.
Team compatriot.
I see them train together all the time. But yeah, he was very, very good at the start of the season, again on the minor calendar, scoring 770 UCI points. Not a prolific winner. Neither of them are going to be prolific winners at World Tour level.
Yeah, but can I just say, I find it so weird. Is the world of cycling just going to ignore the whole rumors at the end of 2023? At the end of 2023, the fact that Marca brought out an entire investigation where there was a Guardia Civil document leaked by, I think, the manager of Euskaltel, but that Guardia Civil document must still exist for it to be leaked in my head. And that document was conversations. Yeah, it was conversations between, what's his name?
Minar,
the doctor guy.
Or his associates.
Dr. Minar, or his associates, whatever, with riders, if not management, of the team of Caja Rural, allegedly. And the same Marca articles stated that Luis Aular left the Vuelta as a consequence of a conversation with the organization asking him to do so as a consequence of this leak. That's what the article said. So, I'm sorry, but is the world of cycling just going to ignore this whole situation? That there is a potential link here with a doping doctor that is very much being investigated? Why is no one talking about this?
Breakout year, Benji. 900 UCI points. Get you up to World Tour.
For me, that's crazy. I'm sorry.
Of course, but yeah, it is crazy.
Welcome to the world of cycling. Anyway, not my El Tesfacion.
The thing,
I don't see it.
Tesfacion.
Yeah.
I can't sprint.
Wow. I don't see him moving the needle for Movistar. I'm sorry.
I think they think he on a minor calendar because he did some races that didn't suit him so much. Like he did UAE, Basque, TDU. They're a bit above his level. But when he did like Wallonie, for example, you know, he's fourth there with Strong, Watson, and Strandhagenes. So on his paired with Aular on the right level, I think he can score a lot of points.
Say it. Are they trying to replace Aramburu in the aggregate?
Yeah. And they probably cost less than combined.
I see similarities. I'm not sure they will do it in actuality though, because it's not that easy to score that many points.
It's not easy, but if you that's the thing. Like if you send Tesfacion and Aular to UAE, they're not going to do anything. But if you send them to the like GP Wallonie and all the Mickey Mouses that Aaron Baru scored points out, they can do well. Pescador, clearly they're trying to sign the Colombian version of Vingegaard. Pescador meaning fisherman in Spanish, obviously, and so he's been he was seventh into it. I just had to do it. He was seventh into L'Avenir. He has very good results consistently throughout the South American calendar, and so with sixth on Finestra, they're like, let's get here, be on the minimum contract. Let's get a cheap climber in, see what he can do, and it makes sense. Cavagna is supposedly leaving after 1 year. Who would have thought that a French at least self-identified TT specialist would struggle at Movistar, and he has 42 UCI points this year in 64 race days, so that's up there with the worst contract, I would say worst transfer of 2024. He'd be on the shortlist, and they want to get rid of him. He probably wants to leave, so that's probably going to happen.
Yep, exactly. Like, it was not shocking when that news broke out. And when that transfer happened, I was like, well, this is going to flop. And it did so, unsurprisingly. Probably a lot of money as well. EF Education, Easy Post, Kasper Asgreen and Max Walker are coming in for that team. Asgreen, it's an interesting one because, like, I'm not overly bullish when I see this transfer, but when you think about it, I do like the idea of Asgreen riding for EF, where he plays in, like, the free rider role, going into breakaways, potentially getting a stage win in a Grand Tour this way. I like that role more than it's kind of the role he had at Quickstep, no? The last couple of years? Because it's classics plus breakaways in Grand Tours, no?
Yeah, it is. Although Quickstep maybe had more. Usually a sprinter. EF don't have apart from Vandenberg, who is not really a pure sprinter. So he's always going to have freedom to go on the breakaway, even on a versatile sprint style stage. Yeah. So he's just replacing Bettiol. And I that's the risk, is that they're replacing one inconsistent classics rider with another. They're very similar. Like on their day, they're world beaters, but they're not on their day that often. So, but
agreed.
EF, they really rely on the Tour de France, and Asgren basically was the strongest rider in 2 breakaways last year, and he should have won both. So if he can win a Tour de France stage, they'll be happy at EF Education Easy Post. They also, did you mention Max Walker?
I have not gone through him yet.
Max Walker, he was at Astana Devo, a bit of a late bloomer. Not really, he's 23 years old. He won a stage of Sibiu Tour, the ITT, ahead of Lipovitz and Co. It's flat TT, but it must have been technical, 4 minutes. They went slow. He's had good results on the minor calendar, and so they've decided he's worth a shot. He reminds me of when they signed James Shaw, very similar. So they're going to go with like a basically a minimum contract guy to do the dirty work like James Shaw, and maybe win a race here or there and be a good teammate. So yeah, it's fine. Astana, we mentioned Teunissen. They needed that for the classics team. They really need points in the classics. That's where so many points are. Teunissen, when he's given leadership and he's on, he can score a lot of points. He scored 660 this year when he was a lead out for Binny in half the year. But when he got his own chance, 4th in Paris Tour, 8th in Bemester Classics, he can top 10 a lot of classics, including races even like Gent-Wevelgem and Kerner from the bunch sprint behind, let's say, or Omloop. So they needed Teunissen, even if he's not leading out a sprinter, because they haven't signed a sprinter yet, to my knowledge. Malicelli is maybe that sprinter, but he's a minor calendar farmer.
Mate,
he's a farmer.
Look at Langkawi, man. 3 stage wins, 2 other podiums in there. Went to the Tour of Bulgaria, won 3 stages, podium in 2 others, got 5th in the other one.
I don't get. He
went to the Tour of Japan Tuesday. I think he because
he can't bring points. Is he really going to win top 3 GC at Dunkirk?
He won't, in my personal opinion. Are there other Asian races where a sprinter might be able to compete for GC? I don't know the Asian calendar enough to be able to say that 100%. Is this maybe like an Asian-centric marketed transfer? I don't know, because I'd be surprised if Malicelli is famous in Asia and we don't know about it. So I don't really know. I do think it's because he's winning those stages, Langkawi and so forth.
Yeah, I guess he just won enough that he deserves a chance, and he's Italian. Champoussin is maybe the most expensive signing, or maybe he's I would say, or maybe he's taken a contract decrease. He's allowed to leave by Arkea. He was still under contract. The 2021 Stage 20 winner when Roglic denied Ryan Gibbons. He won Toscana. He can score some points. He's inconsistent. He's not the best climber. He's not the best sprinter. He's Clément Champoussin, and this isn't going to change anything about anybody. UAE women's Alicia Longoborg. Yeah.
Sorry, very quickly. Is Malicelli the guy that in 2022 in the UAE Tour we were watching Gazprom, a guy from Gazprom position himself very well into sprints, and he was kind of a draft merchant that found top 5s in UAE Tour? Was that him?
That was 2022, yeah. He came 4th and 6th, and then he won the first stage of Sicily. So he's won, and he won in Antalya. So he won professional races. He got fucked over by the Gazprom collapse. He probably would have been on, teams. yeah. He got stuffed by that. Maybe we'll go to some really big names in cycling now in the women's. UA Team ADQ make a big splash. They get Elisa Longoborghini, who is the 3rd best rider in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you have, or would you rather have Viva? Maybe if you'd rather have Viva's.
Why are we spoiling the award show?
No, I mean going forward.
Okay. Ooh.
Kopecky, Vollering, let's say they're
think
1-2, don't care about the order, but would you have Vibers or Longo Borghini?
I'd rather have Weebers going forward because she's going to win more. And I think with the right schedule and the right team around her, she can compete for more than what she's competing for now at SD Works. But then again, is she maybe benefiting from the strong team around her in some of the races this year at SD Works? Probably. But I'd probably still take Weebers over Lamborghini in the long run.
Weber's averages 10 World Tour wins a year. That's pretty nice to put on your balance sheet, expecting per year. Longo Borghini's more like a three or four World Tour wins a year, although she did win the Giro.
But big ones.
The Giro is pretty good, and the Tour of Flanders is a pretty big race. So it depends what your preference is. She's Italian, so it makes sense for UAE, although it is kind of a separate organization. I think the women's, they bring over Brody, so that's a huge splash. And Trek have replaced Longo Borghini. Speaking of the aggregate, they're trying to replace her in the aggregate with Rihanna Marcus and Norsgaard and Nee Fischer-Black and Anna Henderson. But the reality is, maybe I'm underrating them, but you can't win Tour of Flanders in the aggregate. It's hard.
Correct.
it's hard.
Yeah.
We can't win the Giro in the aggregate.
You might get to the UCI points, which I also I'm not sure about, but you definitely won't be able to replace the results of Longo Borghini in the aggregate.
Brody Chapman, LRCP favorite, goes across to UAE Team ADQ on a 2-year deal. Well deserved for her. One of the best sort of overall domestiques in the peloton. On her day, actually climbs much. Like she came 7th in the Tour de Suisse Villars-sur-Orléans TT, beating Amanda Spratt, Neve Bradbury, and Cassia. So she's a versatile domestique. Maybe even she can go for her own GC results in some races herself at UAE. Maybe that's the plan, is that she's not just going to be a domestique the whole time. Eleanor Backstedt comes from Little Trek on a 3-year, 22-year-old. She's I would say she's not a superstar. So we'll see how she goes there. And Sophie Van Rooyen from Volker Vessels, I thought she had another year on her contract. She's a 22-year-old, one of the better sprint prospects. She's won 5 races. Really, this year she has 1,300 UCI points from the minor calendar mostly.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the minor calendar, she's been killing it.
And yeah, we can say it's a minor calendar, but getting forward no Koersen, that's around World Tour riders. That's after Kopecky, Wiebes, and Lily Williams. And then you've got Sierra, Mackay, Norsgaard, and a bunch of other riders, including Rose McGannon, Consonni. So I'm actually very bullish on this transfer. I dig it a lot.
She's the U23 World European champion. She won the sprint in Hasselt ahead of her teammates Scarlett Soren and Gasparini. By the way, UAE have Gasparini, so they got some winners they're lining up there, and the youngsters at UAE. I'm kind of surprised Volker Vessels let her go. Maybe they just got the buyout, but they got Scarlett Soren. Maybe they think Soren can. Must be.
And in addition to that, like Volker Wessels is previous Park Hotel. In the men's, you still have Park Hotel and Volker Wessels as separate, if I recall correctly. In the women's, Volker Wessels has taken over Park Hotel. And Park Hotel has been the sustainable development team, kind of, with the way they were working over the last 10 years. But voting comes from there, right? If I recall correctly, didn't she top 3 Flash Ballon in a shirt of Park Hotel back in the day? So, yeah, we've seen quite a few riders come from that team that are very talented. So I like seeing that though, but I also wonder, is Volker Wessels / Park Hotel getting enough credit for the amount of talent that they have brought to World Tour?
Probably not enough credit.
Are they getting any financial repercussions for bringing up that talent to then leave to another team?
I don't know. It's probably not hundreds of thousands, the buyout fees, because it's women on Conti contracts today. So, but yeah, this confirms also that Chiara Consonni, or I would say Kira, like my auntie, Kira Consonni is leaving the team, UAE, rumored to be going to Canyon SRAM. She is, I really like Kira Consonni. I think she's, I should say probably Chiara Consonni. She's really, really good. And speaking of Devo, like Valcar has also been a beast like developing, but they stopped in 22, but they were unbelievable. Developing Gasparini, Olivia Baril, Persico. Wow. Look at the 2022 Valcar team. Ridiculous. Like really, really ridiculous. Movistar announced this morning the signing of Marlon Royster. She's been struggling with long COVID. She had to miss her home World Championships. Was very disappointing for her. Movistar, let's just say in theory, I hope she gets better. She's on a 3-year deal. I presume that was signed before her issues. But yeah, she's had a tough year after being, let's say, top 5 rider in the world on sort of PCS points last year and scoring 3,300 UCI points with wins at Tour de Suisse. Last year, she won 8 races and big races too. 6 of them were at World Tour level. One of them was the European Champs ITT. So hopefully Royster gets back, but then she'll be paired with Lippert, Kat Ferguson. It would be in theory a pretty good team. Yeah,
on paper it definitely should be. So I'm also kind of looking forward to that, especially the combination with Kat Ferguson in a lot of races. I'm like everybody in women's cycling fandom, I'm very high on her because, well, she's a super talent. And then we continue onwards to SD Works, and that's where I've got a few question marks because we just had news, I think, today that Chantal van den Broek-Blaak extended, which I thought she was retiring. She's extending for a year, sure. I think that will probably cost a little bit for the team because of her years for the team and the fact that she became Dutch champion. But I also think it's a good thing that we'll see the Dutch Championships jersey in the peloton in 2024 there. But the other signings, Michaela Harvey, I feel like I was higher on her 2 years ago. Is that a weird thing to say?
Well, no, yeah, she had some big GC results or like potential with she came 5th in 2020 in the Giro.
Yeah, I feel like I was higher on her back then, and 2024 really wasn't a good year for Michaela Harvey. I couldn't have told you without looking that her best results came at the Vuelta a Extremadura in the early part of the season, and outside of that, it's kind of just 60th, 80th, 90th. Season was not good. Whether that's related to injuries or not, I am actually not certain. So that could be, but I'm expecting SD Works to expect more from her as a rider. She's now 26. She's not like past her 30s and so forth. So she's got potential room to get back to that level of the past. Outside of her, Marta Laak, and it's weird because when you see the signing, you're like, ooh, Marta Laak. She's that rider from Ceratizit WNT that we sometimes see in a top 10 in like a big race. And when you look at her results, you're not surprised that SD Works is signing her, but it's not the first name that comes into your head, you know?
She's a really good signing. SD Works have the feeling to me like Quick Step, where I kind of expect any rider to go there and they're just going to I expect Harvey to fix, to get better and get back to where she was before in 2020. And Marta Laak is more, when you pair her with Kopecky in classics, it's going to be a nasty combination. So
I think so too.
She's an elite classics rider on a leading one of the, let's say, the weaker teams. And so then when you pair her with the best classics rider, it's going to be a tough combination to control. So,
and not just Kopecky, eh? Wiebes is here as well, so
she can lead her out too.
It's like a 3, 4, 5 riders combination. Like Bredewold is in some of those races as well, and the list just keeps going. So I'm not surprised by this signing in hindsight, and I'm happy that Marta Laak gets that opportunity at a top team because she deserves that. Outside of that, there are 3 names that, I gotta be honest, before this year, I had heard limited things about because the majority of these are gravel related. We've got Gerike Schreurs. I think she got second at Unbound. I'm not sure about it. Steffi Haberlin also joining the team. I think that's a Swiss rider, and Skylar Schneider, I think that's an American rider. Are all these 3 riders related to gravel?
No, Schneider's a crit rider.
Okay.
She's like really good. She won a lot of criteriums, I think.
We're talking about like American crits, right?
Yeah. Like Redland, she won stage 4 and 5 last year. She's a sprinter.
So like Lamperti back in the day before.
Yeah. She like Lamperti.
Okay. What do I expect from these 3 riders? Because I've got no clue.
Maybe it's a tie-in with Specialized where they want Schneider on a European team again, and they pay her salary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about the other 2. Like Gerike Schreurs, she's like really tall. and obviously she can put out a lot of power for 10 hours. So if they need someone to control a race, I would say she is very well equipped to do that, even if her peloton skills are let's be honest, like you don't need peloton skills to just go to the front of a 50-person peloton and just sit there for 3 hours. Like she can do that, whether she has them or not.
And like I know that Schneider was part of the Bulls Dolmans team before she went to Legion, so she's kind of coming back to SD Works. That's probably part of the reason as well that that combination is going on. But it's hard for me to be hyped about transfers where I don't know what the outcome could potentially be. I don't think SD Works needs that much. Like Vollering is leaving, yes, so that's a major part of their team that's gone.
Van der Breggen in.
But they still have the best sprinter in the team. They in the world in their team. They've still got the best classics rider in the world in their team. Anna van der Breggen, I've got no clue what to expect. I would expect her to be pretty good, but cycling has changed a little bit in the last 2.5 years. So what will her level be compared to Vollering? I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, compared to Vollering, compared to Cassio Viadoma, compared to, who knows, maybe Eglantine Rayer. You never heard of her, but she was the best climber in juniors, and you look at her times on Monde in juniors, she was way better than Kat Ferguson and Julie Beggar, and then she had problems at DSM. She changed team. Maybe she kicks on, and at FDJ Suez in a French environment where she can kick on. She won a Tour de l'Avenir stage from the breakaway this year. So who knows? I think in 2 years, everything could change in women's cycling. It's changing so fast. Kane Schramm, Cecily Uttrup Ludwig makes the big change. She had a really down year this year. I don't know the reasons why, but she was just a top 10 rider for the 5 or 4 seasons before that, and this year she just wasn't making the Group 1s where she should be. She's not a prolific like winner, let's say, where she's going to rattle off 10 race wins a year or 7 a year, but she wasn't making the Group 1s you'd expect her to this year. She missed that. Yes, she must have crashed in Omloop or something, because she DNF'd there and then missed all of the Cobble Classics and Ardennes. So maybe that just put her season completely back.
Yeah, potentially. I will say, however, she had that injury where I keep forgetting the name of the bone. It's like a bone, the one you sit on, your sit bone, basically.
The coccyx.
Yes, that one. That is the one she fractured, which has led her to her preseason being completely fucked. So that was that. That is the reason there. But how can she link up with Canyon Schramm? Because Cecily Uttrup Ludwig has been a pretty great rider over the last 7 years. She's been a puncher that had to learn to be faster at finishes over the years, got more punchy, ended up beating Grace Brown at a random sprint, if I recall correctly. Don't remember which race though. But she got better at that punch.
She dusted Vos in the Tour.
Yeah, but was also a bit more of a punchy finish. So that is the small asterisk on that stage though. I don't know how well they're going to link up. I do think Niviadoma plus Uttrup Ludwig, that vibe sounds pretty good if you look at the type of rider. But Ludwig is historically not the best teammate in race situations.
That's correct. Great branding fit, I would say, though. Like her at Canyon, I'll say the branding fit is pretty good, so they'll be pretty happy with that. But yeah, hopefully she gets back. She's only 29 years old. I really hope she gets back to and has a good season again, because this season was a bit of a write-off, because it started, when it starts badly with injuries or whatever, it can be hard to get back on track. So fingers crossed for her, but she's making a change. I think it's a good time to. It would not have made sense for her to be with with Shabby,
Vollering and so forth,
and Vollering. It just wouldn't make sense. So she needed to make a change with those riders coming in. Toledo de Jong to Human Powered Health, I would say a pretty big coup for them, signing the breakout rider of the year, maybe 30 years old, about to turn 31 in 2 weeks, but she was one of the most consistent riders of the year from the start of February all the way to the end of September. So she was in top 10 dozens and dozens of races. So even
And the Tour.
also, yeah, true. 3 top 10s in the
GC
Tour.
At the Tour. Like, it's a very... Before the Tour de France, I didn't know she could climb this well.
Me either, yeah.
So she's also a pretty, like, if I recall, she's a pretty tall rider for a climber. So I was shocked that she was still there in like a group of 10 riders, etc. At the end of sort of specific hard stages, getting top 6th at the Le Grand Bornand stage, for example, 13th Alpe d'Huez stage. The potential on this is also existent, eh? Like, she's 30, yes, but she's going towards human-powered health. She's got World Tour support on paper around her there, although there's probably a difference between the women's World Tour teams in terms of budget and surroundings. But she's also going to have the opportunities because they have access to all races, 100% on paper. And in addition to that, she's going to be one of the best riders on the team, if not the best rider, in my opinion.
Yep, so that's a pretty big signing from them. AG Insurance signed Urska Zigart and Gladys Verhulst. So that team is, it's not going anywhere. They've got Gigante top 10 the Tour and had her best season in World Tour in the pros by quite a long way. And they bring in, who else they also bring in? Alexander Manley, Bastianison, Kastrik. But yeah, Verhulst is, she's been kind of a domestique. She's like a classics rider. Classic C rider. Zigart's a climber. She was 4th in Giro dell'Emilia and top 10 Tour de Suisse. Her problem's peloton positioning, so she, like Gigante, she can't ride in the peloton, and she sort of sits off the back. But actually, on a pure watts basis, Zigart is one of the top climbers in the world. So if they can fix that, she is physically capable, Zigart, of top 10ing the Tour de France for sure.
Yep.
She's 12th in 100%. The Giro, so she is. She's 27, improved a lot this year, I would say. What other stage she do that was good?
Wasn't she just good at the Emilia race recently? If I recall,
yeah, but I more mean like, Villas-sur-Orléans was really impressive actually. Like, because the quality of climbers there was high. Bunel, Lebu, Bradbury was the group she was in. So, yeah, she... Her and Gigante, I think it's a pretty nice combination for stage race climbers.
Yep.
Any other breaking news, Benji? It's a lot of transfers.
Not that I can think of. We've had a lot of names on the list. There's quite a few names that we haven't even gotten to, but there's just so many transfers to go over. But we got to keep in mind we've got team previews coming up, and they're, to be honest, after the awards, we're probably going to jump into them in a few weeks. So we're going to go team by team then, going over all the names that are going to each team of the men's World Tour teams, and if we have space in the calendar for as many women's World Tour teams as possible as well. So we'll look into that. I can't wait to jump team by team into it, because in these transfer pods, we're kind of flying over them, to kind of look at what happened, while... If we take a look at the team previews, we can see that team and ask the question, is this the spot that rider fits in perfectly? And with the context of all these other signings now confirmed, is that rider really able to play that role, in our opinions, before the season starts? And what races shall they send this rider to? I'm looking forward to them, to be honest.
Yeah, like what will they actually do at these teams? Yeah. Which races will they actually go to? How will it actually work is something to discuss. What are the teams missing that they should have gotten? Breaking news: the Titans and the Chiefs are working to finalize the trade, according to ESPN, for wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins to Kansas City Chiefs. So something for you to think about, Benji. Baseball season's over. The Kirk Cousins Disciples fantasy NFL team that I run.
I think we need to wrap it up. This guy's
we're 133 points this week. We're killing it. I got Lamar. Took him in a trade.
Kendrick.
Unbelievable. No. The MVP Lamar. Okay, that's all.
I have no clue who that is.
Thanks for listening as always. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back with the award shows starting maybe the end of this week. Until then, ciao.